Welcome, guys. We are on the second game on the concept of key squares. Uh, and this game is played between Alatortsev and Levenfish in 1937. Uh, let's go through the game. D4, knight f6, c4, e6, and g3, bishop b4 check, and bishop d2, bishop takes d2, knight takes d2, and knight c6, knight gf3, and d6, bishop g2. After exchanging the dark squared bishops and developing the knight on c6, black opens the c8 and h3 diagonal for his bishop. E5, d5. White decides to block the position, but this can lead to problems with the g2 bishop. Having said that, other solutions such as castlings or e3 would also give black very comfortable play. Knight e7, castle shot, e4. There was no necessity to also put that pawn on a light square, but white is consistent. By securing the d5 pawn, he prepares the c5 advance. Knight d7, simple and good. Black prevents the move c5 and prepares an attack with f5. Both sides plan to attack the base of their opponent's pawn chain. Black is faster and has definitely won the opening battle. The game is dynamically balanced, but black certainly has easier play. Knight e1, f5. When a bishop is fianchetted on g2, white must generally prevent black's next move. The point will soon be apparent. Knight d3. Although this looks logical, this move must be bad. White must not allow f4. Here ef5 was better option. White gets an outpost on e4 for the knight, and the f4 advance will soon be on the agenda for black. F4. Here this move f4 is an excellent move. This is a typical weapon for black. White has to choose the lesser of the three evils now. First he must capture on f4, and it will give black a perfect outpost on e5 and make the g2 bishop very bad because of the f2 advance. White will move the pawn to f2 from f2 to f3, closing the position, and now closing the position with g4 will also make the g2 bishop bad and weaken the dark squared complex. And here black can also advance f3, a positional sacrifice that creates pressure on the f file, and an amazing outpost on f4 for his piece. Or the third option will be white can wait and allow black to orchestrate a very dangerous and direct kingside attack by launching the g and h pawns. But white goes for the first option. He takes the f4 pawn, and after g takes f4, after e takes f4, knight f3, knight g6, both sides try to control the e5 square. Black intends to block the e pawn with a piece and to avoid recapturing with the d pawn after exchanges. Rook c1, queen e7. It has become clear that white cannot advance his e pawn. So after establishing a firm blockade on e5, black will be able to carry out a kingside attack. White will be almost hopeless. Exchanging material will not help him, as almost any endgame would be hopeless for him. Black has a much better bishop. Meanwhile, white has a useless majority and a weak dark squared complex. Rook e1, knight d5, rook knight f takes e5, knight takes e5, f3. White has stopped black's attack for a while. However, black will inevitably strike again. First, black must secure his queen's side. The next move prevents white's counterplay related to the opening of the c file after c5. b6, and now knight takes c5. If white had played b4, then a5. Black's potential play on the a file is even more dangerous. Queen takes c5, queen d2, bishop d7, and queen c3, rook fe8, queen takes c5, rook takes c5, and a3, a5, b3. The game has turned into an endgame. White managed to lessen black's initiative by exchanging queens. However, this is not that helpful. Black only delayed his kingside attack. Due to his much better bishop and a more mobile majority, black is much better. Two tasks await black now: using the kingside majority and be ready to prevent white's queenside play with b4. The first part is natural, the centralization of the king. The king heads to e5, forcing white to control the d4 square in order to prevent penetration. King f7, king f2, king f6, king e2, rook h5, rook h1, king e5, king d3, h6. This is a strange decision. Maybe it was a waiting move. Here rook h4 with the idea to prevent white's h4 before pursuing the attack was good option. Bishop h3 was also a good move with the idea to weaken the f3 pawn. Still black should find something else. There is no need to exchange bishops. h3 and rook g5, rook h2, rook g3, h4, rook g8, and this move prepares g5 advance. Double rooks on the g file will neutralize white's control of the h file, as black will be able to cover the 7th rank with rook 8 g7, king e2, g5, h takes, king f2, g4, rook h5 check, king d4. Now black's idea has become clear. White's defense is overstretched, and the king, by covering the g file, allowed its black counterpart to infiltrate. The game is over, and the rest is matter of technique. Rook d1 check, king c3, rook h7, gf3, bishop f1, king c2, rook d3, bishop h3, rook takes f3, rook takes f3, rook takes f3, king takes f3, bishop takes f1, rook takes c7, and rook f8. Black tries some counterplay, but white tries some counterplay, but black's f pawn will decide the game. Rook c6, king d3, rook takes d6, bishop e2 check, king f2, f3, rook h6, rook g8, rook h2, king takes e4, rook h4 check, king d3, rook h2, and rook g6. White resigned here, making only one mistake on move 12. White could not avoid such a bad endgame against Black's powerful bishop, firmly controlling the most important square. Black organized an unstoppable attack on the king's side. Weaknesses on the queen's side helped him deflect the white troops, and the realization was straightforward. Okay guys, I hope you would have enjoyed this game. I would be seeing you in the next game. Thank you all.